Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show. We show you some of the biggest and best books that release this Wednesday to your local comic book store, whether that be here at Infinity Flux, online at infinityflux.net, or wherever you shop. These books are coming out. Make sure to go ahead on infinityflux.net and order these books while supplies last, because a lot of these will not last very long. And that way, you'll already have them on Wednesday when they are officially released. You don't have to worry about them selling out. Wednesday rolls around and they are shipped out to you, or you pick them up in store.
Yeah, because some of these we're close to selling out of already. We've already We've already sold out of some variants.
Yep.
We don't have a lot of variants for this video because a lot of them have sold already. So yeah, grab whatever you can at those website right now.
Absolutely. But this is a big week. We are getting back into the swing of things after the holidays and doing it right.
Yeah.
With some of these books. So let's get started with pretty much the big one of the week.
Yeah. So we are going to start with Absolute Batman, the Arc M Special. Now, this is a one-shot. This is written by Scott Snyder and Frank Thierry, and the art is by Joshua Hickson. And yeah, this is a one-shot that tells us the history of the Arc M facility. So most of the issue takes place in 1945. There is a prospective buyer of the Arkham facility. Somebody wants to buy it from the guy who created it. His name is Dr. Amadeus Arkham, and he built it back in the late 1800s. So a lot of this book is Dr. Arkham telling this prospective buyer all about the history of the facility, and a little bit of his own history as well, from when he was a child, what kind of life he had, and why he ended up building this facility in the first place, and some of the shenanigans that went on there. And it's kind of hard to talk about this without spoiling anything, so we can't give you too many details. But trust me when I say it's not just like a boring like history lesson about Arkham Asylum, which actually I was surprised to find out. This isn't a spoiler, but I was surprised to find out that it did used to be called Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, it was way more kind of traditional Arkham Asylum.
I thought I thought I could have sworn that there was a bunch of different arcs, and the one that we're on now is just Arc M.
I think that is true.
Yeah, I think so too, but that's why I was so surprised about, oh, it was called Arkham Asylum a long time ago.
Yeah.
Again, not a spoiler because it doesn't really play into the story at all. But but it's not just, like I said, it's not just a boring history lesson about this Arkham facility. There was some stuff that happened in the past that kind of influences and informs some stuff going on in present day. Dr. Arkham tells this buyer about a young boy that he adopted, about some of the inmates who were there around the turn of the century. I guess actually he's probably right. Yeah, I guess it was around the turn of the century. Or maybe like a little bit before, like maybe late 1800s. So there's a little bit at the end that kind of plants some seeds for some future Absolute Batman stories. You get a little bit of a tease. This doesn't feature Batman. This isn't there's no action in this at all. But there are some teases near the end that make you think, oh, we might get that story one day. Oh, we might get that story one day. And yeah, there's, when you see some of the characters involved and all kinds of stuff, it's really cool. So yeah, I like these kinds of Absolute one-shots. We had the Absolute Evil one-shot, and now we have this. And those, I really think, help flesh out this Absolute universe and tell stories that might not fit anywhere else. This doesn't belong in Absolute Superman or Absolute Flash.
It would be weird for this to be an issue of Absolute Batman, considering Batman's not really in this. So it would feel like that deviated wildly from that, but that this is a one-shot. And that it, kind of has room to breathe within it. Can tell kind of its own unique story, because I think that is what's interesting here. It's hard to talk about it because there is a very unique story and narrative in this that you kind of have to experience as you go on.
There's a couple of twists and turns that maybe you don't see coming, and you might think, oh, I don't, why do I need to know about the history of the Arkham facility? When you read it, you'll understand why you should know about it.
Yeah, and why it feels like it was kind of cursed from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, a great book. I really enjoyed this. This fits right in line with Absolute Batman and the other Absolute books. So yeah, I like this a lot, and I'm really interested to see some of the things that it teased. I'm interested to see that play out in the future.
Yeah, it did. It does have a moment that is very like, ooh, what's that gonna be? Ooh, what's that
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be? That is pretty, I think, significant. Some
yeah,
some things that we hadn't heard about yet.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's not all. There is a tiny bit that does take place in the present,
A little tiny bit,
and
yeah,
that is really
yeah.
interesting. But yeah, this was really good, and I do, like you said, I like this as a supplemental book that does flesh out this world a little bit more
Yeah.
than what Batman has done. I feel like a lot of Batman is from either Batman or Alfred's perspective.
Right.
This can kind of take a step back and look at a wider
Yeah.
view of something else that they don't know as much about.
Yeah. So if you're an absolute Batman fan, you're gonna want to pick this up. It's because it's a really good, yeah, like you said, supplement to that. So this is our A cover, and this is all we have left. There are some really cool variants. And we did get them in. I saw them on Friday, but they're gone already. They've already been sold
Yeah.
either online or wherever. So the A cover is all we have left, and these are going to go too. So if you want this, go ahead and head on over to infinityflix.net and order yours right now.
Yeah, this also is a good time to point out, we do our videos on Friday where we talk about FOC, like
Yeah.
future stuff you can order. That's why it's so important to get your pre-orders in. That way you're guaranteed these books because, I can put in crazy numbers for things. I don't know if they're going to sell or not.
Mhm.
And then when it comes to the day, and it's like, oh my gosh, we sold out of all of those. But for those people who did get their orders in, that was secured. They got them, everything. So that's kind of the importance of pre-ordering
Yeah,
stuff.
because you never have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever in your life after
Ever,
that.
yeah, ever. It solves every problem you'll ever have.
Well, next up, we got more Batman. This is going to be almost like a Batman and Wolverine heavy week.
It really
You'll see
is.
going up.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start off with DC KO Knightfight issue number 3. This continues to be a fantastic book. So this is, I almost put it as like Batman entering his round 3 of
Yeah.
the his own mini competition. So we've known from this that because Batman kind of broke the rules, the Heart of Apocalypse kind of wants Batman to pay for it a little bit by running him through this kind of side gauntlet of him having to face his Robins as potential Batmans in the future. And the Heart of Apocalypse really wants Batman to have to fight them. It's like if you're not going to fight the other heroes in the main competition, then you're going to have to fight somebody who's even closer to you. So we've seen him take on Dick Grayson. Jason Todd's story does continue into this from the crazy cliffhanger of the other one. But just like the first one, they kind of hand it off in each issue to the next character. But what we do find out here is, for one, the Heart of Apocalypse has kind of the most personality in this book, as it is very unhappy with how Bruce Wayne has been tackling this gauntlet that he's given him.
Yeah, that was a cool scene because the Heart of Apocalypse is not just this thing. It actually speaks.
Yeah, it's not like a machine.
Yeah, and some of the things that it tells Batman are very interesting. Could have ramifications for the end of the DCKO tournament. Yeah.
So, it's even shows some like emotion. Like it is frustrated with how Bruce is handling all this because he's not just going at his sons in a straight on fight. He is trying to kind of use his brain and work around this and not immediately start fighting, but maybe talk to them and figure it out. Well, this issue, it's no surprise because we are going through the Robins. This is the Tim Drake as Batman issue. And let me say, this is one of my favorite versions of Batman we've got, because this leans heavily into Tim Drake's personality and
skill set.
What made him Robin in the first place is he, sometimes they even say like he might be better at detective work than Bruce is. And we get put in a world that is not too dissimilar than playing Clue. It has some very Clue vibes to it.
I thought that might go heavy into Clue, and I was like, oh,
it kind of starts off like a little Clue heavy-handed. But this is a world that is built off of Tim Drake's skills, and so much so that he has radically altered Gotham and the way it operates and the crime in Gotham by his really not even using any brute force, but using brains and tech to overcome a lot of things. Um, but of course, Bruce Batman is going to enter this, and how he does, you're going to have to see, and how he deals with what the Heart of Apocalypse wants him to do. Of course, is um, facing off against Tim. Uh, he has to work around this in a really interesting way. But also, something else happens in here that maybe makes Bruce not want to stop all of this from happening, and maybe shows him something that he didn't expect, and maybe is a good thing.
Yeah.
Very surprising, and there's been, not there's spoilers for it, but there's, I think, an upcoming cover or something kind of shows a little bit of it. But it is a very interesting. I feel like a lot of these contests for Batman are thought experiments of like, what would you do in this situation, Batman? Because it's not as straightforward solving things as you're used to. And one of those is presented in this that is, a pretty significant one. So I love this issue. I did also, what is great about Tim is he also relies on others.
Mm-hmm.
And you do get some hints about what is going on with the other Bat family. And in particular, one of my favorite DC characters, we do see maybe what they would be like if they were the head Bat of the universe.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that. But there's a one page that is really cool and shows you some new versions of characters. That's really cool.
Well, that's what's been cool about this whole series is like, well, we just get to see some other characters in ways we've never seen them before.
Yeah.
But it's also been nice because this series has shown Batman that he actually, he needs his sons. He needs Dick
Yeah.
and Jason and Tim and everybody else. And so there's all that. There's the stuff with the heart. I mean, there was they actually had more or less a brief conversation, and the whole thing, I don't know. The whole thing's cool. I want to talk about it, but I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
Especially since this issue actually was some retailers sold this early, and I know there's already some spoilers out there, so I don't want to talk. I don't want to spoil anything. But man, it was really cool. The ending was neat. Like I said, it might have ramifications for the actual DCKO tournament near the end. So, holy cow!
Yeah. Overall, it's a great issue. I feel like I ramble about it, but because I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I've thoroughly enjoyed Knightfight.
Yeah.
As even its own thing outside of DCKO. It's just been a fantastic story, great art.
Can we get miniseries of each of the other Batman?
Yes.
Can we get a Dick Grayson Batman miniseries and a Jason Todd, and can we get like each one have their own like 4 or 5
how
issue
did they
miniseries?
get to this point?
Yeah.
Would be really cool. So
or ongoings, I'd buy them all.
Yeah. So highly recommend DCKO Knightfight #3. This is your A cover. We also have, this is the Riley Rossmo cover, which is really cool with the Batmen, the Bat Boys. We have this one, which is the Jeff Spokes cover. That one's really cool. And we have a Ludo Lullaby variant as well. Very cool. A little pepper action.
Yep. Okay, well, we are going to talk about my pick of the week, Batman #5, and this is actually my favorite issue of the entire series so far. Obviously, Matt Fraction, Jorge Jimenez, just killing it on this series. I've been loving it so much. This issue is called Date Night, and it begins with Bruce Wayne attempting to take Dr. Zeller on a date. So, okay, that sounds very fun and innocuous, right? Well, actually, this is the most action-packed issue of the series so far. And it's the two of them, trying to go on a date. Almost immediately after Bruce picks up Dr. Zeller, they're driving away from her work, and they start to get followed by this biker gang. And for several pages, we are treated to this exciting high-speed chase. It's action-packed. It's so cool. I love the car that Bruce is driving because he's a billionaire, but he's not driving like a Maserati or whatever the rich kids drive. He's like in a 70s like muscle car that's been tuned up real well. And so we get this really awesome high-speed car chase, which, we've had a lot of in the last couple months with Gunpowder Prophets had a good one, and I want to say, didn't Ghost Pepper have one? And
Yeah.
there's been several books lately that have had like really fun high-speed car chases, and this is one of them. They do eventually wind up on foot. The whole issue is not a car chase. They do eventually wind up on foot, and they get confronted by a new villain named the Ojo. I don't know if it's Ojo or Ojo. It's OJO with like some accent marks. But it's her right there. This is her first appearance in this issue. She is not in league with the biker gang that's chasing Bruce and Dr. Zeller, because she and the biker gang confront each other, but there's also Bruce there. So it kind of becomes this weird like free for all, the three different like little groups fighting each other. And Bruce has a theory about why they're being chased, but we don't know who sent these bad guys after them, and we don't know if his theory is correct. I'm sure it is, but so hopefully that'll be answered maybe next issue. And there's more to this issue than what I'm telling you, because I don't want to spoil it. But one thing I will say is, if you notice that we're saying Bruce and not Batman. So Bruce is having to deal with all of this stuff while Dr. Zeller is there with him and trying to keep her safe, while also trying to fight off the bad guys, while also trying to not reveal his secret identity, that kind of thing. It's very Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like you'd expect to see Peter Parker in this situation. It's really, really cool. The ending is awesome. The ending made me instantly want the next issue.
The next panel, the next speech.
Right, yeah.
What is going to be the next thing?
Yeah. But this is so great. Andy and I got to read this about a month ago before number 4 had even come out. And even though number 4 doesn't really lead into number 5 all that much, but
they
set up the date, yeah. But even without like the little context of their date, I loved it back then. I loved it even more on a reread. Like, it's so much fun. Jorge Jimenez continues to, up his game on this.
This is the level of action in this. Just speed and action is so cool.
I love the chemistry between Bruce and Dr. Zeller, because she's obviously attracted to Bruce, but she's trying to keep that on the low, and she's not fawning all over him like other women do. And he likes her, and he's a little flustered with her too. He has a couple of nice, I don't want to say like quips like Spider-Man. It's nothing like that, but it's more of what has made this series great, where Batman feels a little tiny bit more classic, not quite as dark and angry. He's a little bit more fun to read, but still he'll also kick the crap out of you too if you're a criminal. So it's just been a great read over these 5 issues, and this is the best of all of them so far, in my opinion.
He's a little bit more almost like James Bond, who knows that he's got this situation taken care of, so he doesn't mind having fun with the situation.
Right, yeah. So yeah, it's so good, and I cannot wait to see the next one. So yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. My pick of the week for sure. So there's your A cover right there, and there's some nice variants. We do have variants for this. This is the Jim Lee Robin cover. We have this is a nice one. We don't quite get to this part though. This is a Julian Totino Tedesco. We don't quite get there in this issue. Yeah, that was the goal, but they didn't make it. Okay, so this is really nice. So this is your Larix cover, and that is your new villain, the Ojo, and this is her first cover appearance.
I know they talked about this is also going to have Lady Deathman.
Well, that's who this is.
That is who that is.
I think they changed the name.
Okay.
I'm not sure why, but that's who this was going to be. So yeah, there she is right there. We have another one of these. Yeah, this is the Jorge Jimenez. What are they called? It's just like the
Bat Gadgets.
Bat Gadgets cover with the cowl and the goggles or the lenses that he had from issue number 1. So that's really great. Here's another great one from Jorge Jimenez. This is the design variant for the Ojo. So another cover appearance right there. And we have the Virgin foil version of the A cover, which looks awesome. And then we have this 1 in 25 David Aja cover that we're selling for $14.99.
And he's been doing that, I think, for this whole run so far. I think that's been the 1 in 25.
He's had some Superman ones too, I believe. Yeah. I love this issue so much.
Well, next up, I have another great issue to talk about from Marvel. This is X-Men issue number 23, and this kind of works as our Age of Revelation epilogue. So if you were reading that storyline, you'll definitely want to pick this one up, because what I do really like about this is it wasn't like Age of Revelation is over, everything's solved, toss it in the bin and move on to the next thing. No, this is really setting up what are the ramifications of everything that happened. And this, for one, art is by Tony Daniel, which is awesome. It
Looks
feels very, top tier, like X books should, like X-Men should. It feels like a very important and grandiose issue with his art. But we do pick back up on the moment that kicked it all off, the moment that Scott Summers shook Doug Ramsey's hand, the moment that we knew from the Age of Revelation issue 0 is the moment that the dominoes started falling to lead to the Age of Revelation. But we did see then in issue 22 of X-Men that something a little different happened than what happened in issue 0. There was kind of a moment for Cyclops that looked like he almost got struck by lightning, like he physically shook. And that is where this issue picks up, because now we know after the Age of Revelation series that is the moment that the mind of Age of Revelation Scott from 10 years in the future swap places with modern day Cyclops. And this shows us what happens then in modern day. So we kind of followed what was going on with the Age of Revelation and him discovering that when he was there. Well, this is that moment where suddenly the Age of Revelation Scott, who knew what Doug Ramsey was going to do and knew everybody who kind of where all the pieces would eventually fall, is now standing face to face with who he knows to be kind of the ultimate bad guy in 10 years. What does he do? Well, it's not too different than this right here.
This cover literally happens in the book.
Yeah, you could just take, I think the panel is from the side. This is just like if you took it and just rotated it around.
To the side, this happens in the book.
But that shows you that he has been prepared for this moment. And, his ultimate goal at this point is, I've got to take out Doug Ramsey, who I know is going to become Revelation in the future. And to the rest of the X-Men, this just looks like Cyclops just went berserk.
Yeah. They say something about, he's been corrupted, we got to stop him.
Yeah, or is it a psychic attack, or is it something? So a lot of this issue is this. Also kind of leading up to the very end of the Book of Revelation Omega, where we saw at the very end Scott Summers with the helmet on to keep him from blasting.
Oh, you mean the Age of Revelation finale?
Yeah. Kind of from there, this is kind of showing you how do we get to that point where he's now kind of locked up and everything. This, I don't want to say where it goes, but it's not all solved in this issue. It looks like, hey, this is going to be a problem of, can we prevent all of this stuff from happening for a while? And I think that's really cool. It gives a lot of weight to the Age of Revelation stuff by saying, it's not just, good guys, we beat it, we're good, we can move on to the next adventure. No,
well, and especially with the way Age of Revelation ended, don't want to spoil anything, but they need to prevent that future. They didn't quite go the way they wanted. They need to prevent it. So it's not like they can say, well, we're done with that. It's like, no, you've got a big problem on your hands, and you need to address this now, or else in 10 years you're going to be hating life. And so I don't know that I think this is probably going to be the only book that deals with the fallout of Age of Revelation, but I hope that it lasts for a while, because it's really
it feels like it makes that story even more important and grand going forward. So this is great. I even think if you just read the Age of Revelation books, if you're like, I hadn't read much of X-Men before that, you could just continue on with this, and it feels like you would be pretty caught up with what's going on. So I'm looking forward to what's coming next in X-Men.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it feels like we're still going to be dealing with this. And I don't know where it's going, and that's the most exciting part.
Yeah, this seems like it could lead into the Cyclops. Well, it seems like it should lead into the Cyclops miniseries. Now, the solicitation for that makes it sound like the Cyclops miniseries is going to be some other just random story.
The way the solicitation makes it sound, it's like it could happen almost at any time.
Anytime, yeah. But really, the way this ended sounds like it could and should lead straight into that. But we'll have to see. Maybe the solicitation was wrong. Maybe we've seen it before where the solicitation comes out and then the book comes out. It's like that wasn't anything, because the story changed over time. Maybe it will. We have to wait.
Or they
and
didn't
see.
want to give away too much.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We have to wait till Cyclops #1 comes out. But man, if they don't do that, missed opportunity, because this could lead straight into that, and it would be an awesome story.
Yeah, and to end on just saying, if you're a Cyclops fan, this is a fantastic Cyclops issue where you kind of get all the best hits of why he's so good at what he does, why he's, such a powerful speaker, but also, pretty powerful in his own right.
Yeah.
This was great. Highly recommend X-Men issue number 23. And I'm so glad I can recommend this. Not that I was worried, but, after Age of Revelation, it's like, okay, that was good. Keep the ball in the air, and they did with this issue. So that was your A cover. We also have this really nice Talavera Magic cover. We've got a very cool Romero Classic cover. That does not happen in it.
Right.
Classic Juggernaut does not attack Classic X-Men. We also have a
this is really nice.
Stormbreakers variant. This is the Netho Diaz cover, which is really nice. We also have a foil cover, and this is the Wilson. It says it's connecting foil. I don't remember what the next part of this one is. Maybe Uncanny X-Men might be the other side of it. I'm not sure, but that one's really cool. Spot foil. And lastly, we have a 1 in 25 Stefano Caselli variant that we're selling for $14.99, which is also really cool.
All right, I want to keep talking about Batman. So we're going to talk about Batman, Green Arrow, The Question, Arcadia #2. So let me go ahead and say I am enjoying this series. Like, this is a cool story, and I love these three characters together, and the artwork and everything. It feels very classic, like early '80s, story. But it is a little bit tough to follow. So basically, and the thing is, it's a little tough to follow, but the story really isn't all that complicated. There's just a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah, you're dealing with three characters who are not really together.
Yeah, three different characters, and then like three different groups of characters also. So you've got all these puzzle pieces, but they are starting to come together in this. So basically, the overall gist is that Queen Industries, which Oliver Queen is not in charge of, they literally kicked him out of the building last issue. But Queen Industries is building this floating city named Arcadia, and they've contracted a private military company named Juno to protect it. Okay, so you've got Queen Industries and you've got these military guys, Juno, who are protecting the whole thing. Well, there's also this rebel group called Ceres, 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 yeah, not Cersei from Game of Thrones, Ceres, that's trying to destroy it because of environmental implications and things like that. Well, the Question learns that Arcadia is being built using forced labor. And he learns this because he got captured at the end of last issue, and he was thrown into this like forced labor camp to construct the city as well. So he tells Oliver Queen about this, and Oliver Queen tells Batman about it. But Batman says, Batman's a little bit weird in this because Batman's like, well, I don't see any evidence of that. But I did just see this rebel group Ceres. They blew up a big crane that crashed down, and they tried to kill the guy who's running the project. So I'm going to go try to stop the rebels. So that kind of puts the Question and Oliver Queen at odds with Batman because they each see bad things that are going on, but they don't know how they're related to each other. So Batman is trying to take down this rebel group because he sees them blowing stuff up and trying to kill people. But the Question and Oliver Queen understand why they're doing that. So Juno, who is the military group, they respond to the assassination attempt with extreme prejudice. And that finally gets Batman on Oliver Queen's and the Question's side, and he's like, "Nah, this has gone too far. We're gonna end all of this right now." So, yeah, and I don't know how good of a job I explained that. And even reading this the first half, I was like, "Man, I don't remember what's going on." It does kind of click after a while, but it does take you really have to like sort of lock in and try to figure out what's Batman doing and why is he hanging out with these guys while the Question is over here putting together things for the city.
It's like what you said before we started filming. It's like it's not as complicated as you almost think it is.
Yeah.
Once you get into it, you're like, oh, the story's actually a little bit more straightforward. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
you kind of got to work through it.
yeah, and that's really like I sat here reading it, and uh, I just kind of have to like put it down and like think about he's doing this, and I had to move
Yeah.
the pieces around, but still a really cool story. And yeah, it's not as complicated as what it seems like, but there's just so many moving pieces it can be a little bit tricky. But I do like it, and I can't wait to see the next part now that all the heroes are on the same page, and I think more things are going to come to light, and Batman's going to realize, oh, that's why they're doing this, and oh, they are doing some bad things, and so yeah, can't wait to see all that happen. But let's see. This is our A cover right here, and we have
Phil Hester.
this. Yeah, that is Phil Hester right there.
I will always know a Phil Hester Green
Oh
Arrow.
yeah. Oh, that's right. I should have
He's
noticed.
got such a distinct style.
And
for
that's
Green
kind of
Arrow.
like this doesn't really happen, but this kind of gives you an idea. Like Batman is kind of like stalking the two. They're together, but Batman's not, and he's sort of watching them. So that kind of gives you an idea about what this is like.
Well, next up, we've got some Absolute books. Again, starting with Absolute Superman number 15. And this one's really exciting because this, as it says, a new story starts here and kind of a new era for Absolute
Yeah,
Superman.
Not just a story, but
Yeah.
like a whole new status quo.
Yeah, and you could kind of figure out that that was going to happen from the end of the last one because we are now past the Lazarus invasion of Smallville. Ra's al Ghul has been taken care of, at least for now. So we are moving on to like Superman going forward with his life now that he's a little bit more of a public figure. One of the cool things of this is Juan Ferreira joins on art, I believe, for this story arc.
Yeah, I believe it's this in the next 2 issues, I think.
Yeah. And it's really fun because I think this is the first time since the very beginning that kind of starts with not, immediate threat.
Right.
You've got Kal-El now, or Clark, or, he's kind of going by all the names, on the farm in Smallville. And
yeah, he's on the Kent farm.
yeah, he's kind of trying to make a life for himself. But what a lot of this issue is that feeling of I can help everybody, I can hear everybody's cry for help, so I have to help.
Mhm.
And even though Superman kind of doesn't need, you know, especially to eat or drink or sleep or whatever, he still does need his own version of rest. And he's not really getting that because he's trying to be everywhere at once. So you get a lot of very classic feeling Superman bits of saving different people or a dam's about to burst.
Mhm.
But what's also interesting is because of what happened in the previous.
Sorry, you said that there is a dam that's about to burst that Superman saves, and the way he does it's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's really cool.
But Clark Kent, Kal-El, may be more alone than ever because he did have Soul before his suit, basically his cape, all of that. But because of what happened in the previous story, it's not there anymore. It's almost like the file got deleted.
Yeah.
And so now he's kind of alone with his thoughts as he is trying to do all of this. There's still Lois that he does interact with. There's Lana Lang. There's, the people of Smallville. But it does make him feel like he is a little more alone out here trying to make his way. Now, the other thing that does happen in this, and I don't want to give away too much of it, is that Ra's al Ghul has been put behind bars, and Superman does go and visit him. But what's the most Superman thing that he can do in
Yeah.
this situation? You have to read it to find out, but it is it feels like a lot of this issue feels like regular universe Superman would do a lot of these same
Right.
things. And I think that's cool that this version of Superman is now starting to line up a little bit more with what we know. He just came at it from a different direction. Now, the kind of the big thing that moves a lot of the story forward is in the last few pages of this. And I don't want to give away too much about that, but there's some characters that show up in kind of two separate scenes that definitely are setting up what we know is the next issue, and then something very interesting a little further out, I'm guessing. But
Yeah, something that makes me think Absolute Superman's about to get crazy.
yeah. Yeah,
It's about to get crazy, especially in the next issue. Because the thing I thought about this is, it's this. There's not really like a new story in this issue. It's mostly just like an establishing story about here's the new status quo for
yeah,
Absolute Superman. He's living on the farm. He's saving lives. He's visiting Raish in prison, and he's chatting up with Lana Lang and that kind of thing. But there's not like a central story yet, but I think there's gonna be,
yeah.
and like maybe I think the next issue is where that's gonna start happening, and holy cow, it's gonna get crazy.
Yeah, there's so many elements that are just set up in here that we know are coming that I can't wait, and that kind of have been seeded for a little while, but now it looks like, hey, we're getting into what feels like year 2 or season 2
Yeah.
of Absolute Superman, and I'm here for it. This is great. So if you love Absolute Superman, you're going to continue to love it here with issue number 15.
This is still just narrowly behind Absolute Batman
Yeah.
as my number 2 favorite Absolute book.
Yeah, so much happens in this, and even though this issue not as much as like giant pieces of story are
Yeah.
moving around, it still feels like this is super important to the entire Absolute universe, and it's only inevitable before it spills out into everything else. So here is your A cover, which you notice his blue's a little bit more blue here. He's a little bit more Superman,
a little bit brighter.
Cover. Yep. We also have, this is the Giandomenico.
Oh, Carmine de Giandomenico.
Yeah, you said it just as well as I did. There's that cover. And we also have, this is the Perel cover.
All right, we're going to go back to the X-Men, and we're going to talk about Wolverine. This is number 14. As you can see across the top, did the X-Men have that? Or is it Shadows of Tomorrow?
I think X-Men said that it was the
epilogue.
Epilogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, Age of... it does say Age of Revelation Epilogue, Shadows of Tomorrow.
Okay, so we are now in the Shadows of Tomorrow era for the X-Men. What does that mean? Doesn't seem like a whole lot, really. Just seems like, the current books are resuming, like X-Men and Wolverine. We're going to get some new ones later, that kind of thing. But this, for Wolverine, is the start of a brand new story arc. And I'll go ahead and say now, this has zero to do with Age of Revelation. If you did not read Age of Revelation, you can still read this. There's no mention of it. Because Wolverine didn't
know any of that was
he
going
doesn't know
on.
that it happened, right? So this has absolutely nothing to do with Age of Revelation whatsoever. And Wolverine, he kind of finds himself in a small, mostly abandoned town in Canada, but when he's attacked by a couple of mutants there, and he defends himself from them. But then he's attacked by Silver Sable, who tells him that she has accepted a contract to keep the town safe. So they have their obligatory fight for a minute, and then they're like, "Wait a second, let me explain everything." So she tells him what's been going on, and apparently, there are a few mutants living in this town, kind of like, and I guess they're like hiding out there, basically.
Well, especially when I don't know if you want to give it away, but what they call themselves.
Definitely right. I forgot about that.
Leans towards why they're hiding out.
Yeah, for sure. So Wolverine and Silver Sable talk it out, then Wolverine kind of figures out what's going on. But it's not long after that some armored goons from Department H, which is Canada's, governmental group, they enter the town on suspicion of mutant activity. So Wolverine and Silver Sable have to then defend the town and the mutants there from these Department H goons, and it's a really cool action sequence. Like, they both get some really cool licks in, and then there's a little bit more that happens after that will lead into the next issue. But I liked this a lot because this feels like a classic, like 80s or 90s Wolverine book, especially when you throw in like a random guest appearance by Silver Sable. I hope that she's in it more, and hope it's not just this issue. This book, it's just self-contained to this. It's just Wolverine doing Wolverine things. It has nothing to do with any other X-Men books. It has nothing to do with any other Marvel book out there right now. It's just Wolverine, like you said earlier, like Wolverine just kind of wandering and just finding himself in random situations.
Some of my favorite stuff is either Wolverine in the snow in Canada just stumbles upon something, or in this he just kind of walks into a village and finds out hey, there's stuff going on here. I just think
Yeah.
Wolverine works so well that way.
It's almost like 70s Conan, like, because
Yeah.
Conan just kind of wanders the land and finds himself in random situations, and this is kind of like that. I'm happy to say that too, and not everybody will feel this way, but I'm happy because Wolverine he does put on the brown and tan suit.
I was worried because for a while it's like, does he even have it with him?
Yeah.
And then yes.
So that made it feel classic too. And so yeah, there's some good action. I love Silver Sable. This is very localized. You could read this without having read anything else, as long as you know who Wolverine is. Like, that's
Yeah.
all you need for this. This is the start of a whole new story arc, and yeah. So this was a really good issue of Wolverine. It felt very classic because it didn't have any larger ramifications or anything.
I did think it was interesting. I've Silver Sable is usually a little bit more Spider-Man related.
Yeah.
But it's always funny to see like these characters who've been around for decades. How much do they know each other? In this, it's like they don't really know each other that well, but they know of each other.
They know
and I
of
always
each
think
other,
that's a
yeah.
funny thing in a world
Yeah.
that's been. It's like, really, in all this, you all haven't had like a crossover, but I guess not really.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see their familiarity with each other.
I think the last time we saw Silver Sable is when she was shacking up with Nightcrawler when he was parading around as Spider-Man, I think.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, you know my buddy Nightcrawler? She's like, yeah, I know.
We have a mutual friend.
Yeah. So yeah, a good solid issue of Wolverine. Like, it was just really fun to read. So this is your A cover by Dan Panosian. That cover is gorgeous. And we have this gorgeous Clayton Crane cover. Looks like a trading card. And we have this. I thought this was Simone Bianchi, but it's Jay Anacleto. Anacleto, yeah. And this is the 1 in 25 that we're selling for $14.99. And this actually kind of sort of does happen, sort of. Yeah, they fight a little bit. Really fun.
Yeah, you can't be two heroes that run into each other and not
right,
scuffle a little bit.
They actually saw each other and like, hey, what's up, man? And it's like, I guess let's go ahead and get the fight over with.
You want to do it over here? You want to do it over there?
Yeah,
okay.
All right, let's go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Well, next up, I've got another Absolute book to talk about. This is Absolute Green Lantern number 10, and this was a great issue of Absolute Green Lantern. So in the previous one, we had this character, Goldface, show up, who is kind of masquerades as a couple of different familiar names of characters that we know, but is kind of a master of disguise, and presented themselves to Joe Mullen at the front door as John Stewart. And so that's how Joe Mullen opened the door. Was she's like, oh, John Stewart, and he's wearing yellow. And the last time I saw him, he was this kind of like celestial figure wearing yellow. So, but nope, turns out it's an assassin, this Goldface character. And he knows that gold hurts Green Lanterns, or if they even call themselves that yet, I'm not sure. But when he attacks her, this ends up being one of maybe the most painful scenes in comics that I've read in a while, as Joe knows, if I'm going to stop him, I've got to get these gold bullets out of me. Where's some pliers? Here we go.
She's got a ring. She can just make pliers, right?
Not when there's gold in her.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So
yeah.
that kind of makes it where she can't use her powers, and it is very disturbing and hard to read, but very cool. Meanwhile, the other thing that's going on here is Hector Hammond is doing some experimentation. I don't want to say what he's using, but it is interesting that they're able to get some of this on a character that you will, for longtime comic fans will recognize the name, but in the Absolute Universe style, maybe comes out looking a little bit different than what you expected. Okay. So that was really cool too. There's some other stuff in here. Simon Baz makes an appearance and more. What's the artist name on this one?
Sid Kochian?
Yes, is great.
The art is awesome. I didn't get to read this one because I haven't read number 9 yet, but I flipped through it. The artwork is phenomenal.
Yeah, I really like the art. I think he also did last issue.
Yeah, I believe so.
And is phenomenal. Feels a little bit more like comic booky.
Yeah, traditional comic.
Traditional comic book, but it works really well in here. So, especially where this issue ends, the last page, I am super interested in what the next story is, and maybe what that means for other familiar Green Lantern in name characters. So, there is your A cover, and we also have this is a Mirka and Dolfo cover.
Oh, nice. Well, I want to keep talking about Wolverine, so we're going to talk about Ultimate Wolverine number 13. So we're done with sort of like the main like Ultimate Wolverine story, and there's a little bit left over that may or may not encroach on the Ultimate Endgame stuff. But in this one, Wolverine and Jean Grey, who he rescued last issue, and also Sentinel One, they're trying to get out of Moscow, but they're having to go through the sewers because there's this big, large uprising. There's almost like a big protest up on
Yeah.
the streets because of all the information that's come out about the Maker. So Jean is severely wounded, and she needs antibiotics to counteract the infection that is coming on very, very rapidly. So Wolverine tries to make his way through the sewers to get up to the street, like get past the other side of the protest and get up to the street and find a pharmacy. But as he is going through the sewers, he runs into a very large villain down in the sewers. And most of this issue is Wolverine and that villain just fighting.
Sewer fight.
Sewer fight between Wolverine and another giant villain, and it's awesome. The claws come out, body parts get cut, and that's a large part of this issue. And that's it. So it's just another like Wolverine number 14. This just feels almost like a classic issue of Wolverine.
It's not that different than if this was just a main universe Wolverine story. Just something that he may run into at some point.
This almost could have been like a story in Wolverine, Black, White, and Blood, or one of those like anthology books.
There is the character that he faces in the sewer is a kind of a follow-up to something from earlier in the series, which I thought was nice too, to give you a little bit more closure on something.
Now, last Friday on Comics from the Future, we talked about Ultimate Wolverine number 14, which was on FOC this past weekend, and the solicitation mentioned the missing mutants. And we were like, what in the world are they talking about? This does clarify that a little bit. Not as much as I would have liked, I think, but this does, when I saw this in the book, I was like, oh, that's what the solicitation was talking about. So, this is going to move on into that. But yeah, just a really solid, just a really solid Wolverine issue. Of course, this is Ultimate Wolverine, but like you said, this could just be like any issue of Wolverine. So really good, great artwork, great action. Yeah, really fun stuff.
Good week to be a Wolverine fan.
Yeah, for sure. So this is our A cover right here, and we have the 1 in 25 Gerardo Sandoval variant that we're selling for $14.99. He's swole right there.
Yeah. Though he's kind of lost the muzzle. He's
right.
Just is now kind of orange Wolverine.
Yep.
Well, next up, I have a great issue of Venom. This is Venom issue 253. And one thing that's great, you got Carlos Gomez back on art. And this, it kind of feels like it's setting up a new story. So in this, someone, it's pretty obvious who it is, but someone is taking out potential new leaders of AIM. So, I guess AIM has a list of like, well, if this person's gone, then it's this person. This person's gone.
Yeah, it's like a hierarchy.
Yeah, it's like a hierarchy. Well, someone is going down and taking out different people on that list in very creative and very horrifying ways.
But also, like, kind of funny.
Kind of funny.
It's supposed to be hilarious, but I did find it pretty funny.
Anything with AIM in this is pretty funny. Yeah. But it does set up something pretty interesting where it does leave the highest member on the thing to be MODOK. But the problem with that is MODOK is locked up right now. So he finds out that he's in charge, but there's nothing he can do about it. And that kind of sets up maybe more that's going to come with that. Now, meanwhile, Paul is getting a new apartment.
We do have to issue a Paul warning.
Yes.
Paul is in this issue, but he is, like you said, he's getting a new apartment that's not the same one that Mary Jane lives in.
Yes, so it's okay. It's a Paul warning, but you're safe. Do you notice the one funny panel where they're walking up the stairs and it says Carlos was here and it's Carlos Gomez's signature?
Oh, I didn't see that,
Yeah, I thought that was really funny. But it's kind of a seedy apartment. It's not, it's pretty small and all that. And Mary Jane is not very nice to Paul anymore. She's pretty, done with him and his shenanigans.
Yeah.
Which I am so happy about.
Because aren't we all?
But there is another attack, very similar to the attacks that were going on at the beginning of it, that hits very close to home. And MJ is now starting to wonder, they know that it's me, that I'm Venom, and they are targeting me. and the people around me.
And they seem to know my every move and that kind of thing. Yeah.
So she is going to investigate how do they know this. So we get some help with by Flash Thompson, which is always fun. And this does lead to a really fun scene with Paul, MJ, and Dylan all discussing how how AIM may know their movements, but they can't talk out loud. So how do they do this? They have two conversations at once, and it is a great scene.
Yeah.
This just felt like a very well-rounded issue with action and laughs and interesting plot developments. I thought this was a really just well-structured issue. And there's some really funny moments. There's a particular one with some AIM agents that is just like, this is a delight.
Yeah. There's one panel with some AIM guys, and I took a picture of the panel and texted to Andy. I was like, I love AIM.
Yeah.
I love anytime AIM is involved in a story. What's really fun too is, like, Madam Mask and AIM have been a big part of the Venom book for a while, but we know that Madam Mask, at least, or I don't know if AIM is coming with her, but we know that Madam Mask is going to play a big role in the upcoming brand new Iron Man book.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see that transition. Does she transition out of this book and into that one? Is she in both
I
at once?
think there might be a little bit, because isn't there an Iron Man cover coming up with MODOK on it?
I thought so,
And that would make sense with what's currently going on.
Yeah, I mean, that to me is like, there's a perfect opportunity there for a classic 90s Iron Man Venom team up, guest starring Venom or something like that. I miss that stuff.
But this is a great issue. It's really fun. I know people are still kind of mixed on Mary Jane being Venom, but I think it is being handled really well.
Yeah.
Where, it's not just I'm Venom now. It's like there's still a lot of push and pull between them about what they're obligated to do.
Yeah, I'm enjoying Mary Jane being Venom. I didn't think I would initially, but it's just really fun. I don't want this to last forever,
No.
And I know that it won't. Especially with Marvel but comics in general, they inevitably reset. Not like Universal, but everything always goes back to status quo.
I was about to say status quo is not resetting, not renumbering, but things usually get back to a base model.
I actually feel like the upcoming Death Spiral storyline will put Eddie back in the Venom symbiote.
Yeah.
I'm that's just a guess. I don't know for sure, but I know that Mary Jane's not going to be Venom forever, but I am going to enjoy it while it lasts because it's pretty fun, and when it ends, then I'll be fine with that too.
Yeah, and the way this is going, when that's all tied up in the end, I think it's going to be a very good package of, like, go read that time that Mary Jane was Venom, because it's a really good run, and it continues here. So not a whole lot to say about this other than I really enjoyed it, and I think people should be checking this out.
Mm-hmm.
So Venom 253, we've got our A cover here. We've got another one of the Clayton Crane kind of trading card variants. And we've got this 1 in 25 Justin Mason cover that we're selling for $14.99.
That's nice.
Yeah, and she's not the red and blue Spider-Man anymore. That was
Right.
literally like a couple of pages.
Well, we're going to stay along those same lines and talk about Amazing Spider-Man number 19. And it's time for Spider-Man to go back to Earth, and his shipmates are going to help him do that. But before they can go through the warp gate that's going to take them back to, I guess, the galaxy that Earth is in, Spider-Man has another confrontation with Hellgate, who we have not seen in a good long while. But Hellgate shows up again, and Spider-Man fights him again. I won't tell you how it all plays out, but it is a cool action sequence. Pepe Larraz is back on art for this, and the artwork for this is gorgeous. One thing I will say is I have really been enjoying the Spider-Man in space story. I wouldn't want that to be the forever status quo for Spider-Man, but it's fun while it lasted. And in fact, I wish it actually lasted a little bit longer.
I feel like I would like to get like a storyline within this that is maybe not connected with some of the main parts, but like a little Guardians of the Galaxy style story while he's in space.
Yeah, it feels like a great Guardians of the Galaxy story. I like all of the crew that Spider-Man is palling around with, and I'm sad to say that I think that the last so issue number 20 is going to be another Norman as Spider-Man story, and I believe issue 21 is also Norman as Spider-Man, and we won't see this again until issue number 22. and I believe that's where Peter does make it back to Earth. And then 23 is where, and that's where all the space and the Earth stuff, that's where all that stuff ends. Because number 23 is the start of all the Death Spiral stuff. So if you're enjoying this space side of things like we are, there's only one more issue of it. And it feels
probably won't be there probably won't be too much of it in that.
Yeah, and it feels like there's still a lot of stuff they have to wrap up in that too. Like Hellgate, I don't know if that's done or not. Like so it's a little bit of a shame because I've really enjoyed because yes, Spider-Man has been out in space and he's had space adventures before, but he has never had like a solo space adventure. He's always been out there with the Avengers or something.
Yeah.
And now he's got a crew that they feel like they're a tight-knit group now, and it's sad that it's all coming to an end rather quickly.
We don't know where those characters are going to end up. It
Probably
like
nowhere.
They're just like, if they don't come to Earth with them, we don't have anywhere to track them. It'd be great they announced like a new like Guardians and had like some familiar faces and then some of these characters on there or whatever. But
it seems like there would be room for them because we have all the the post-Imperial stuff. We have the Imperial Guardian series coming, and there's the Nova series. I put Nova in there with them, and that would be cool.
Another part about this series I've really liked is it does address a lot of the stuff that happened in Imperial because they're in space. So they are having to deal with kind of the fallout of all these warring factions. And how do we navigate that?
Yeah.
That plays a big part in this issue. And I thought that was like, oh, this is kind of the first thing that's really, other than like the Wakandan series and She-Hulk, but really address more of the wider scope of the impact of Imperial.
There's some great scenes in this with Raylith, who is the woman that Peter's been getting friendly with, the yellow warrior woman. Glitch, who is the techno being that came out of his suit.
Yeah.
Has some really, really great one-liners in this. Like, it's funny. The artwork's great. It's action-packed. Like, I really like this, and I just wish this adventure were lasting longer. But here's our A cover right here, and we got some nice variants. This is the Liber Mayhem.
Yeah.
What do they call these? The Amazing Visions. This does not happen in this book, but it's a really nice cover. This is the Romero variant. Feels very classic. This is the I did not get the artist name for this one.
You read it at the top.
Oh yeah, it's the Sarah Pacelli. I did get the artist name. It's right there. Sarah Pacelli. And then this is the 1 in 25 Lee Garbett that we're selling for $14.99.
It doesn't make sense, but I would love to see him flipping and swinging between asteroids.
Oh yeah, right. He could in that suit that he's got on, I guess.
Yeah, that's such a fun series. And what I also do love is, it's like, oh, is there another love interest for Peter? It's actually addressed in a very nice way in this issue about what their relationship is. I really like that. Well, next up, I've got our next issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Battle Nexus, issue number 2. And I was not confused in the first issue, but the first issue had a lot of writers listed, but then kind of like one main writer. And I think each issue of this is going to be scripted by one of those writers and with a different artist to kind of, spread the love a little bit. So this issue is scripted by Paul Allore, who does a lot of the Marvel Rivals books, which I thought was interesting. So to see something else he's worked on. And the art in this one is done by Ben Bishop. And this does pick up kind of right where the previous one did, but we do get a little like extra bit at the beginning where we see the backstory of Savanti, who is the big villain of this, who's a classic Ninja Turtles villain, I think from the Mirage days. But what led to the events of him creating this battle nexus? We see kind of what drove him almost to madness to do this.
So is he like cosmically powered that he can do this?
A little bit.
Okay.
Especially when you see that intro, it's like, oh, there's more going on here. But now we get into the fight that was teased at the very end of the last one. Leonardo, our main universe Leonardo, is facing off against the Mirage era Shredder. And that's really cool because the continuity of Ninja Turtles is a little hazy, but for the most part, each publisher kind of did their own world.
Yeah.
And the original Mirage version, way more brutal than any of the other versions. And this Leonardo is not used to a Shredder who, like, Leonardo goes up, he's like, oh, I know who you are, and all that. And this Shredder's like, you don't know me, and you don't know what I'm capable of. And then he goes all out, and
Oh
it is
man,
pretty
I gotta
devastating.
read this. I want to see the Mirage Shredder go against like the Archie Ninja
Yeah.
Turtles.
So that is awesome. We learn what happens when someone loses, and it's not good. But also, we set up round.
Do they get turned to stone?
They do no. We almost don't know what happens, and that's
Oh,
the
okay.
scary part.
Oh, okay.
Plus, round 2 is set up, which is not a spoiler. It's on the cover of the next issue, which is going to be Donatello versus Alopex, which was like his girlfriend from the early IDW stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember.
So that's, but I think there's going to be some twists in that as well. So the other interesting thing, and I don't even think I mentioned it when I talked about the first issue, is on the back inside cover of this is a sideways strip. You like turn the book to the side, and it's kind of covering the other fights that we're not seeing.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think that's where you're
like
getting
a little comic strip or something.
Yeah, and it's hosted by I forgot what the little elf guys are called.
The Neutrinos.
The Neutrinos.
Yeah.
It's not one of the main ones, but he looks like a neutrino, so I'm guessing that's what he is.
Okay.
He kind of hosts it. And in the first one, I don't remember who we got. I think he kind of just laid out who the fighters were going to be. But in this one, we get a quick strip, and it's kind of made for like at a comic strip style. It's kind of got a punchline to it or whatever. But in this one, we see the movie Turtles, the classic movie Turtles, versus the new movie Turtles.
Oh, nice.
And they're just like, like Michelangelo is like with the new Michelangelo, it's like, why do you have braces? And like, they have that. And it's really quick. I mean, it takes 2 seconds to read, but it is really fun to get. What I'm guessing is maybe some of the stories we're not going to see in this that are like, it doesn't really fall into the narrative we're telling, but we are seeing some, maybe that's where we're going to see more of the Archie Turtles. That's where we're going to see more of the weirder turtle stories. It's just in this one little strip, but I really like it, and I think it's a great little add-on to this. So this has been great. I really am digging this little extra mini series in our season of combat arts or tournament arts.
Right. Tournament arcs, yeah.
We got a great one. So here is your A cover, which this does happen. And I love this variant because I just love this style.
Oh, yeah.
This is the Ortiz variant, and there you've got your black and white. And he is black and white in the book as well. Your Mirage Shredder, but this is a very almost like manga Shredder.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
All right, next up, I've got speaking of Nova and all the cosmic stuff going on in Marvel. This is Nova Centurion #3. Now, this is the last issue of the first story arc, which normally they last 5 or 6 issues, but after 3 we're kind of done with the first little story that was going on here, and it's I can't say much about it. Nova has to find a way to defeat Ravenous, who he was fighting last issue, and Ravenous, of course, is the one responsible, I believe it was Ravenous, for wiping out the Nova Corps back in the Annihilation event. So, but he has to find a way to defeat Ravenous without using his Nova powers, his energy powers, because Ravenous can siphon that off of him. So Nova and Cammy and I can't remember the other guy's name. Like they come up with a really creative way to be able to do that. And then there's something at the end that I didn't quite understand, but it may hint at a larger story to come, but I didn't really get it. So there's something, it ends on a little bit of like a dun dun dun, but I didn't really quite see what was going on there. But yeah, so a short little 3-issue story before we get into something else in the next issue. But yeah, if you've been reading Nova Centurion, then don't miss the next issue. And this is the only cover that we have.
Well, next up, I've got a new book from the world of Hellboy. Yep, from the world of Hellboy, we have Carmen Red Claw, #1. This is going to be a 4 Red Claw.
Yeah. I was going to say, did I write that down wrong? Yeah.
No, in my notes say Carmen Red Class
for
some reason. So I got it wrong all the way around. Carmen Red Claw, #1 for a new miniseries introducing a new character to the Hellboy universe. So this is by Mike Mignola and Ray Allen. Ray Allen does the art in this. And it's a pretty straightforward almost like the Witcher type story with this character Carmen. She's a monster hunter or hunts beasts wherever, but in the Old West setting. Now, what makes her unique is she's got a little lizard on her shoulder that talks to her, and is like really feisty, and also claims that he is the king of lizards, but he got shrunk, so he's this little cute lizard. But he's like, I'm the most powerful king of the lizards, and that's like her little like companion through this. But she's a monster hunter, and in this we just kind of get we get some looks at her backstory interspersed with her like modern day, and we see kind of how she was a little bit of an outcast because of something about her, and it doesn't get fully explicitly said, but you could kind of guess by reading it. But in the modern day, she is hired or called for by these people working on a ranch, and they say that their cattle have been getting attacked by some beast at night, and they want to see if Carmen can take care of them. And so she, of course, is going to go out and do that with some twists and turns, and maybe the beast is not what you think, and maybe there's something else. We get a little introduced to some mystical backstory on her, that maybe there's more to her than what we originally thought. And we do see kind of her home ranch, somewhere that she's a little bit more welcome. People there are really nice to her and everything. But is it cursed land? We'll have to read it to find out. This was just a really cool um, it was a setup issue, but that did have a little story in it.
Mhm.
So the story with the ranch is pretty much set up and taken care of in this, but it's more to introduce you to the character and what her job is, who her like little lizard companion is, and hints at what maybe some bigger story with this character is. It's very much in the Hellboy um, kind of feel of it, of a very loner character just there to do a job, kind of a blue collar job, and they go back to their home at night and just want to take it easy, much like Hellboy. But this time we have a new character that we are learning a little bit about as we go. So I thought this was really fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes and where this character goes. I'm not sure where it fits in the Hellboy universe. Did this take place in the Old West, or is this some weird like new future or something? With the Hellboy universe, you never quite know. But I thought it was cool, and if you like Hellboy universe type stuff, this fits right in with the style and the feel of all of that. So you've got your A cover here, and that's what your interior art looks like. And then, of course, we've got a Mike Mignola variant with. There's the lizard there. In the book, he's like a little blue lizard,
Oh.
but he's a really fun part of it because everything is very serious and straightforward, and he's just like chomping at the bit to, you know, like a monster shows up. He's like, "You gotta shoot it right now. You gotta take it on. We can take this thing on."
Don't take
And
any chances.
yeah, it's really really fun.
All right, I've got a Deluge #3. This is from Ignition Press. You guys know how much we love Ignition Press books. So in this one, the prisoners and the guards in the prison, because again, this is a book about a woman's prison that is flooding, and all of the prisoners and the guards are still trying to get out. They're trying to find their way out, but there's also something in the water too, so it makes it a little bit supernatural, or at least some kind of like a monster book. And there's different groups of characters, like a guard will take one group of prisoners over here, another guard will take another group over there. So there's all these different little groups of people in various locations in the prison, and they're all still trying to find their way out. One group, we saw last issue, one group did make it out, but they still haven't left yet. And these different groups have sightings of whatever it is that's in the water with them, and there are lots more deaths. This every issue of this has had so many characters
Just
dying.
attached to anyone.
Yeah, right. And we do get a little bit of a hint as to what this creature in the water might be, or at least what it's like. In maybe like a larger folklore kind of thing. There's one character who says, "Oh, my grandma used to tell me about blah blah blah," and it's like, well, that actually sounds a lot like what this is. I don't know if it's the same thing, but it's very similar at least. So yeah, there's more deaths. There's more mystery about what the heck is this thing in the water. Like, how did it get there? Like, why is it there? That kind of thing. Yeah, but I think maybe I don't know how many issues this is. Maybe
Maybe
4 or 5.
5.
Yeah, but it's still really cool. Every issue I look forward to seeing. Is anybody gonna actually escape? Are we going to learn what this thing is? Is everybody going to die? That kind of thing. But yeah, really good issue of Deluge from Ignition Press. And that's the only. Oh, no, it's not the only cover we have. This is your A. So it's weird. This is your A cover by Raleigh Rossmo. And then this is the Marika Cresta cover, who is your interior artist. So you think they would be swapped, but this is the A cover.
I think that's how a lot of them have been doing it. Is the variant is by the interior artist with
Yeah, that's
Ignition Press.
interesting.
They kind of follow a format.
And that's the scary thing in the water right there. So yeah, really cool. I'm loving this book. It's weird, and I don't really know the hows and the whys and the whats and all that stuff, but it doesn't matter because it's like it's
And it
just
feels
fun.
fresh. It
Yeah.
feels like I'm not reading anything that's like this right
there's
now.
nothing else with monsters in the water killing female prisoners.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
It might start a trend.
Right.
Next up, I have a really interesting one that I feel like I don't know the full why about, but we have this new one-shot issue, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Zord Quest #1. Is this maybe a game or
I don't
something
know.
tie-in? I'm not positive, but it is really cool. I can't get into too much of the detail about it because it's very like compartmentalized to each of the characters in it. But the Rangers are fighting well, I guess is a new foe. I didn't recognize her, but it's a fun, classic Power Ranger style character. A non-humanoid thing got turned into a humanoid thing and then made big.
Oh,
Um,
classic.
but something happens, and each of the Rangers and their Zords get sent to different locations, and we do learn a little bit about why these locations. And apparently, these locations are almost like cosmically close to the morphing grid. They have like high morphing grid energy, and it does have something to do with the past and when the Zords were originally created. But when they're there, each of the Rangers individually have to go through kind of a challenge to prove why they are worthy of being Power Rangers. And we do learn who set this up and why and what it's all about. But it is cool to see, like, the Black Ranger who has the Mastodon get sent to like a tundra like
Oh, nice.
type
Yeah.
place, and they're a little bit the saber-tooth tiger gets sent to a jungle, and it kind of fits with their aesthetic as well. But yeah, the thing I don't know is like what prompted this one shot. Is it tied with something? I'm not sure.
Oh, it's only a one shot?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not like I don't know, like Rita's Rewind and stuff like with the games and all of that. This kind of feels like it just popped out of nowhere, and it was really fun. But it feels like usually they do stuff like this when it's kind of sending you somewhere to check something else out. But for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fans, if you're a fan of the classic characters, especially because like right now, like I know we have Power Rangers Prime, which is very different than Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yeah.
This is back to your classic characters, taking on a baddie and building up into a big robot. So this is really fun for Power Rangers fans, so don't miss that. And I think it's a little bit oversized as well, so that was really cool.
Any variants on that one?
Nope.
Okay. Well, it is time for our Speed Force round. This is where we talk about a couple of other books that we have that we don't have quite as much to talk about, but we still wanted to at least let you know they're coming. And I'm going to start with Spider-Man Noir #4. And in this one, there are reports that are starting to come in of this killer wandering the streets of New York who's wearing a diver's helmet. And Spider-Man sets out to go find him and actually does find him and fight him. But it does not go well for Spider-Man at all. And then things get even worse for him after that. So this is #4. I don't know if the next issue is the last one or maybe there's one more. But if you've been buying this, don't miss the next issue.
And I've got Hellboy in the BPRD, the Ghost Ships of Labrador #2. This is the final issue of the series. It's just a 2-issue series, which I feel like no one else is doing 2-issue series, but I think it works really well for this. It's kind of a setup and a punchline type idea. But in this one, Hellboy tries to survive on a ghost ship full of ghost pirates and their ghost crew. And we learned the difficulty of swimming when you're Hellboy, when you have one giant, really heavy arm.
Oh, nice.
You just swim in circles.
Yeah.
Really great. If you like Hellboy, you know exactly what you're in for, and it's great. I love it. So, Hellboy in the BPRD, Ghost of Labrador, #2, final issue.
Well, I've got all new Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider #6, and this is the start of a brand new story arc. Gwen and her band, she finally has gotten a band together, and they finally get a name. And I'll let you read what it is for yourself. But it's fun because that name was actually voted on by fans at New York Comic Con. So they had like 4 different names, and the fans voted, and that's what's in the book
The
now.
band name is Gwen Stacy and the New York Comic Con.
That's right. So they play at a battle of the bands, but then the villain Shriek attacks.
Ooh.
For some reason, I don't really know why, but she shows up and attacks, and you've got Gwen Stacy and you've got Cindy Moon, so you've got 2 spiders that can jump in there and fight her. And this actually kind of feels like a one and done issue, except for the fact the last couple of panels hint at a larger story. But without those panels, you can almost just pick this up and read it on its own, free and clear of anything else. But yeah, a new story arc starts right here.
And next up, I've got Marvel Rivals, The Cities of Heaven #1. This is like all the Marvel Rival stuff we've got so far. This is a collection of the Marvel Digital First comics all put together for this. And this was the storyline that was about Luna Snow, but also introduced the new characters at the time, Daredevil and Angela, that came into it. Now I think we've got the one next that's Gambit and Rogue. But this one, if you're a fan of Marvel Rivals, if you didn't read it digitally or you want to get a physical version, you've got this. So it's kind of a one shot, kind of oversized, but yeah, in the Marvel Rivals world.
I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm still going. We've got Star Wars Han Solo Hunt for the Falcon issue, I believe is it 5 of 5? Yeah. And just want to point out this is the last issue of this series, and I don't really know what the future of Star Wars comics at Marvel is. Because we've got this that's ending, Jedi Knights ended. Pretty much, we know that we don't have solicitations for the regular Star Wars title in the upcoming previews and all of that. The only thing we know is we have the Darth Maul comic that is going to be kind of a prequel to the new show on Disney Plus. Other than that, there's not any Star Wars and the Jar Jar one shot that's coming out. But I am very interested to see what is the future of Star Wars at Marvel. Maybe we'll know a little bit better now in the new year that they're going to announce a new slate of them. But the Kylo Ren series is going to be over, all of that. Very sad, but we do have the final one of Han Solo here. We also have Arcadia issue 2. This is also Ignition Press. I did not get to read this one, but I really liked issue 1, and we love Ignition Press. So if you like that issue #1, definitely check out #2 this week. And that is all we have. So thank you so much for watching. This was a big week.
Yep.
Like we always say, make sure to head over to infinityflix.net and order these books while supplies last. That way on Wednesday, when they are released, you'll have them and you won't have to worry about them selling out because you're the one who sold them out.
Right.
You're the one who
reason
caused
why,
that. Be that reason.
Yeah.
But make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because we, it's a new year, but we are still going strong with a lot of fun ideas for this year as well. With stuff coming up, and now that comic schedule is back to pretty much normal, you're gonna have some big weeks with Comics from the Future, with our Monday show, with our Wednesday show, our live shows, all of that. Don't miss any of it. And anything else?
That's it.
Man, you never have
I know.
anything.
It's it. All of my thoughts and knowledge have now flown out. Now it's all in these books right here. I have nothing left in the tank.
Yeah, your tank is just
empty.
Flashing red, like needs to be refilled. Well, until next time, thank you so much for watching, and
see ya.